in Perth. Wonderful atmosphere. Dwayne Lamb on the boundary. We couldn't have picked a better day weather-wise.
It's a real grand final feeling down here. It's exciting, and we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that was a huge build-up, that one. It was really, really big for us because we basically had the whole state to ourselves for the first 6 or 7 years, and then for those guys to come along and to be in the same state as us and really cut the place in half was, I think, really good for footy, good for supporters, good for you know, barracking, going to the footy half and half, and get a real good feel of what it was like to have a opposition team in our home state.
Here's Kemp inside 50, snaps away and goal. They pepper away. He's kicked it, I think.
I you know, recall sort of the pre-game sort of lining up, and the whole anticipation, you know, of the event was just terrific to be able to play against another Western Australian footy team in the AFL.
Lions, 12 seconds before the final siren sponsor.
It was a really big deal. It wasn't a normal game, and it's fair to say since then no derby's been a normal game.
Bang! Here comes Johnny Worsfold.
I mean, we were the reigning premiers, so it probably wasn't a fair start for Fremantle to go up against us to be compared. But you know, we weren't gonna. The moment there was any blood in the water, we were going for it, and that's what we did.
Too good, too classy.
The first derby was an extraordinary event, really. It was wonderful to have, I guess, have another team in the competition in your own town to build a rivalry, albeit that we were pretty determined, and the players who played that day were pretty determined to make sure they stamped their authority on the game, and they did that.
Look out, material will get you!
I think the pleasing thing is our guys went about their business and got the job done, and it was a really memorable game from our point of view, and I guess Western Australia's point of view, because there were two teams in town.
Mick used to call them that mob down the road. He never used the word Fremantle. It was always that they were always going to be the whipping boys from Mick's perspective, and he firmly ingrained that into our psyche to make sure that mentally we were prepared for anything that Fremantle would throw at us. It was always Mick's and the team's intention to make sure that they never won a game. It took them a little while. They eventually won a game, but I think the record early spoke for itself.
I had been speaking to some of the Eagles blokes, and like the Mainies of the world, and the Sumiches and the Worsfolds, and you know, the older guys, the Pikes and the Evans, and they just had this fierce determination, and they actually, I know they made a little pact between themselves, the older blokes, that whilst they're all still together at the club, they're not going to lose to Fremantle. Okay, so that was their big goal. We're not going to lose to those Dockers, or as Mick used to call them, the blokes down the road. I never heard him say Fremantle or Dockers once. We're never going to lose to these blokes while we're still at the club. And of course it turned out that way. They won the first 8 or 9 derbies, so those blokes, that pact, it stood the test of time.
The West Coast Eagles, the reigning champions, say, hey, we're still here in a mighty performance in this history-making event.
Good to have a big win in that first one and set us on the right path.
A massive 85-point win, the West Coast Eagles.
Look, it was a great result for West Coast and the start of a real strong rivalry in Perth.